Oh my gosh! When did this pop up?
It's been there the whole time.
Has it really?
Yeah. And you get to take it home. It's yours.
Are you serious?
It's been there the whole time.
I never even saw this literally until now.
You're a busy girl. You have a busy month coming around. You're just focusing on the Lego
Can we
you're about
take
to
a
build.
minute to admire her beauty and
Beautiful.
essence?
It's beautiful.
Wow, I love that.
Welcome to Building Friendships. I am your host, John Sosis, and I'm very excited for today's guest. I mean, she does everything, but June 27th is her day. You can hear her in Megan 2.0, again, returning as the killer doll. And more importantly, where did that girl go? Her album is coming out. Miss Jenna Davis.
Hi, hello everyone.
How are you? How's it going?
I am fantastic. We're about to build Legos. Oh my gosh! When did this pop up?
It's been there the whole time.
Has it really?
Yeah. And you get to take it home. It's yours.
Are you serious?
It's been there the whole time.
I never even saw this literally until now.
You're a busy girl. You have a busy month coming around. You're just focusing on the Lego
Can we
you're
take
about to
a
build.
minute to admire her beauty and
Beautiful.
essence?
It's beautiful.
Wow, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I got a gift.
You have a whole gift bag waiting for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you came to build
No.
Lego. You're taking home some Lego.
Oh, I love it.
Let's get into our sets. So you're going to be a killer robot. I'm doing Futurama's Bender from my friends at Brickcraft. They sent this over. It's their new Futurama line. Love it. Not a big set, so I have a backup set just in case, but love this set. I'm very excited to build this. And then I'm even more excited about your set.
You know, see, I think this is just so iconic. I love this little guy. Does he have a name?
I didn't know he had a name, Luxo Jr.
Luxo Jr.
The
There he
Pixar
is.
lamp and ball.
The Pixar lamp and ball. I thought, why not? It's so cute, and I feel like so many of my Legos that I have are like characters.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna go with a non-character, but turns out he is a character.
He is a cat. He has a name. Who knew?
Who knew?
I kind of want to start at the beginning because you do so much. You do content creation, you're a singer, you're an actress, you're doing voiceover. Chicken before the egg, where did it start? Because you grew up in the internet world where I didn't. That kind of came into my life later. What brought you into entertainment? What was the starting point?
So actually, my mom brought me to it because she was a voice and piano coach.
Oh, okay.
So I got introduced to music through her because she performed opera music, and she also taught voice and piano to students and has taught lessons for years and years and years. So I found out about music through her because our household has just always had music around it, and I was raised by Dolly Parton, Patsy Cline. I mean, literally, truly some of the most iconic women in music, and my mom just really submerged me in that really young. And I also think when I was like in her stomach, she was just doing music. So it's been before birth, truly. And so I started theater very young when I was 5. I also started competitive dance when I was 2. And through that, I fell in love with performing and musicals. The first one I ever did was Annie, and then I started doing professional theater, and then it was film, and this was all in Minnesota. So I was born in Texas, lived there for 4 years, then moved to Minnesota because my dad got a job promotion. And then that's pretty much where I fell in love with theater. And Minnesota actually has a pretty big theater community, actually.
Really?
Like a big professional community theaters. Ordway, Guthrie, Chanhassen Dinner Theater. I mean, the list goes on. There's so many fantastic theater companies out there. So I do feel like I got really good training out there. And that's when I started coming out here when I was in my 5th grade. I started coming out to LA. And I told my mom that I wanted to be on Disney Channel and I wanted to be on film. And so my parents were so gracious and trusted me and allowed us to move out here. But my dad at first was a little suspicious. My parents really wanted to enforce normalcy in my life, and they didn't want me to feel like, I don't know, I think so many child stars look back on their life and wish that they had normalcy and wish they could have gone to school and had a prom and all those sorts of things. And so my parents really wanted to make sure that I could never say that about them.
Yeah.
So they tried every opportunity for me to go to school and to pursue that normal life versus this crazy unorthodox one. But I never wanted that.
Was there a reason you didn't want it? I feel like, did you have friends outside of...
Yeah, I made friends outside of it for sure, but I think I also just knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to pursue this with all my heart and all my soul. And I think it's definitely possible to go to school and pursue it, but I don't think I ever like yearned for it. I was always very studious, straight A student, like loved learning and whatnot, but I don't think I have ever felt the feeling that I've missed out on anything. I've just got to experience different things than other kids.
Also, I feel like, and I don't know if you knew this, but I also feel like when you're getting into, you kind of know you're going to make friends where you are. So if you don't go to school, it's not like you're never going to make friends in entertainment. And it's going to be easier to relate to people that you make friends with in entertainment than your friends outside of that anyway.
Yeah, like I think balance is everything. Like as I've gotten older too, like primarily when I was younger, a lot of my friends were in the industry because like you said, that's what I was around. But as I've gotten older, I've really found that balance is everything. And it's really nice to have people that are in the industry, but also out of the industry too. So you can kind of have that kind of sense of normalcy in that sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it's the most important thing, which is, did you find it difficult that your parents were musicians and like even at home you kind of had the industry in a way, or?
You know, not really, because my mom was just a small town music teacher and my dad was in the shipping and logistics world. So he wasn't in it at all. Okay. But I think my passion for music and everything that I loved about it stemmed from what came from my home. Got it. You know, and I think it was always like in me that there was nothing else I'd rather do. But my mom's influence was so big because she was always teaching other kids how to sing, and I always wanted to be the one that she was teaching how to sing. So like I would stand outside of her door whenever she was teaching just to be the one that could be taught next.
And she was probably like, I'm going to teach all the other kids until she begs to be taught by me.
Yeah, she taught my Montessori school music.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I remember, some people would get special parts and I'd be so mad when she didn't pick me to get a special part. Okay,
so you start getting into entertainment and then you make it onto the Disney Channel.
So, there's a lot of time before that, for sure. So Minnesota era, lived there till I was 10 turning 11. My dad gave me 6 weeks in LA in the 5th grade where I was actively auditioning. And he said, if you have success, we'll extend your stay. So in the 5th grade, I came out here for 6 weeks, got a bunch of callbacks and producer sessions and made it far. And my manager was telling me, hey, like, this is a really good sign. Like, you can't expect your daughter to book in 6 weeks. You have to give her more time.
How old were you when you got your manager?
I was 10 turning 11.
Okay. That's a good start.
Yeah. So then I moved back to Minnesota in the 5th grade to finish up 5th grade because we only came out here for pilot season in 5th grade. And then in the 6th grade is when we made the move out here. And that's when my family, it's only me, my mom, and my dad. I don't have any brothers or sisters. So that made it a little bit easier. But my parents sacrificed a lot. My dad, he still had to work in Minnesota. So he would come out, fly into LAX every Friday, stay with us Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and then leave Sunday night back to Minnesota. And we did that for years until COVID happened. And meanwhile, I was auditioning and pursuing also music in a smaller way through my social media because my mom realized that social media would be really impactful when I was young. And so she's like, Jenna, we should hop on this if you want to be able to sell music, because the only way you can sell music is if you have an audience. So her and I started doing parking garage singing covers when I was 11. We would do 3 to 4 a week. And that's how I built my Instagram following.
That was probably the best call she could have made.
Best call. My mom's very smart. But it was nice because I was just this young kid who loved what I did and didn't really care about anybody else thought. Like looking back at those singing videos, I was so goofy and just such a kid that I think it really bugged people that I was so young just posting singing videos that it just gained traction. And I wasn't afraid to be me. And I think that's what gained a lot of traction quickly.
It's also got to be difficult, because what I see now is it's difficult for people to accept that a child can make the decision that this is what they want to do. And they often attack the parent, like the parents forcing the child to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the child sees this on TV or they grew up in an entertainment family. They genuinely want to do this.
Yeah, and that was always me. I think for a while, like even my grandparents and extended family for a while, I think thought that maybe it was my parents who wanted this for me because, you know, when you're 11 years old, most people don't think that you should know what you want.
Yeah.
But I always knew what I wanted, and it was never my parents' desire. It was always my own. And I think now that I've stuck with it so long, I think everybody else is realizing, oh, okay, this was her all along. Yeah. But I think especially as a child, you know, and especially when you're 10 or 11, like I didn't feel that young at the time. But looking back now, that was 10 years ago. That's crazy. I was so young, but it's never wavered. It's always what I wanted to do. But I think I've always just known that in this industry, if there's anything else you'd rather see yourself doing, go do it.
Yeah.
Because this industry is really hard. And if there's anything else you see yourself doing, like if anything else in the world, probably pursue that because you're going to have more success doing that quicker at least. But for me, it's never been about that. It's just because I love what I do so much and I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Is there any advice, and it's very hard to like really take in advice when you're 10 or 11, but is there any advice you got at that age that stuck with you? Because it sounds like what you just said is the best advice you could give somebody. And I heard someone say it recently, like, don't have a plan B. Like, is there any advice you got at that age that's just kind of followed you through now?
Well, my mom's always called me her little engine that could.
Okay.
And she always said that you can't say that you can't do something because then you're really not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, there has really been no plan B. There's been no... Like, my dad ended my college fund, like, all those things.
Okay.
Like, there's never been a plan B for me. But I do think, you know, it gets to a point in your career where, you know, I think I'm very proud of what I've built so far because it's allowed me to sustain myself. I think pursuing a social media career as well as music, as well as acting, like there's something always going on that keeps me afloat. Yeah. But I think it's really hard when you choose one and just stick with one because if that one fire isn't burning, then nothing else is burning. And so I think from very young, I've always positioned myself to have like 3 buckets: acting, music, and social media, so that I'm always working, whether it's in one of them or all 3 of them. And luckily where I'm at right now in this season is I'm able to work on all 3 of them. And that's really cool. And I'm super busy. But other periods of life, you know, as I've continued to grow and as I am continuing to grow, sometimes more buckets are going to be more on fire than others.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. I think there are areas that just slow down. Well, also music is a cycle. So once this album comes out, it's like this album's going to come out. Hopefully you can end up on an amazing tour that just is another cycle.
That just promotes the project and you just keep going and then it's the next because this industry is always what's next.
It's just a cycle and you're as good as the last thing you did. And then it's what are you doing next? And then it's the next movie. And then it's the next TV show, which I saw you just posted. You got a new TV show, which you probably can't talk about.
Correct.
But it's like, that's amazing. But that's the next thing you're working on. Congratulations. And then you move on to the next thing. And then it's okay, time for a new album, especially if you're signed to a label. You owe them an album.
Correct.
It's just nonstop.
It's nonstop. But it's so exciting. And I think, you know,
it's a good problem to have.
It's a very good problem to have. And you always, you know, they always say busy begets busy. And that's always my mindset is even when nothing was going on. I mean, there's been periods of time where, you know, I wasn't working on a project or I wasn't doing anything. And in that time, I just pivoted to my socials of just like, no, I'm going to make myself busy and I'm going to create in other facets, whether it's, you know, even just creating a cool TikTok to post or a fun YouTube video. I think I always tried to allow myself to work even when I wasn't working.
Are you someone that can pause and like say, okay, even though I'm not doing something now, I'm accomplishing stuff? Or are you hard on yourself in those like lulls of not having something right now?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely hard on myself on those lulls, but I think I've also learned that everything's happening in its time and when it's supposed to happen. And like the timing of all that, like everything in this industry, even just looking back to when I started, I'm really glad. You know, some people just came out here and booked the first thing that they booked, and I call them unicorns.
It was the last thing they booked.
Yeah, like the first thing it was just they just book the first thing, and I'm like, that's so lucky. That was never me though. But I'm also glad that it wasn't me, because I think it's taught me a lot about how much timing has to do with everything, and how what parts are supposed to be mine are the parts that are supposed to be mine, and the ones that aren't. And you can't take anything too seriously, because if you do, I think that's why so many people get so distraught and like lose their passion for this industry, is because, you know, they have expectations that become failed realities, or they get too sucked into it thinking that it's about them when it's really not that deep.
And not to get cheesy, but like Billy Joel's Vienna has a lyric in it, like, you can't be everything like you're supposed to be before your time. And it's like, I look at that all the time as like, you can't do everything all at once. You can't be everywhere. You can't do everything everywhere all at once. You have to like pause, pace yourself. Everything's going to come to you when it's supposed to. And I'm similar to you in like, because I create also, it's like, you have to look at the things you've accomplished instead of beating yourself up for not doing something right now, because there's plenty of time, especially for you. I'm a little bit older, but you have plenty of time to do stuff. You have to breathe.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So many people don't breathe, and I feel like that's where they end up in trouble.
Yeah, and I think, you know, having my family and having really people around me that are so supportive of what I do, and just having like the right friend group and the right team, and everybody around you is uplifting you, and also just along for the ride, I think has been super rewarding for me. I mean, having my family always there to keep me up accountable, but also keep me in check, and, you know, just make sure that I'm always staying true to Jenna, I think is important, because you can get totally lost in this world. You know, it can be a lot.
Especially LA. LA, it's very easy to be sold on something that isn't real. Mm-hmm. And then it disappears, and it's like LA is a city of love bombing. It's very weird.
It is a love bomb city.
It's a love bomb city where
I never thought of it like that.
You're given everything at once, and then it just vanishes the next day, and you're like, you feel like you've just lost everything, but you're okay. You're fine.
It is such a love bomb city. I never thought of it that way.
Crazy. It's like when you look at it that way, you're like, okay, it's just being love bombed. You cannot take everything too seriously with LA.
No. That is so interesting. I'm going to start using that term. I actually really like that.
Look, I've only been here. I moved out here a little later in life, but I've been out here almost 4 years, and that was one of the first things I learned. And since I've been looking at it like that, I get way less depressed. And like, I'm not a person who gets depressed, but like, I don't take things as seriously.
Yeah,
and like,
no, you can't.
Things just feel better if something doesn't work out. I'm like, okay, on to the next.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what LA is. It's just on to the next.
Yeah.
So you're getting these roles, and then you get the Disney Channel show. You're doing that. What's the next progression in like your career? What do you start setting goals? Okay, check this off the list, check this off the list.
Yeah, I mean, before Raven's Home, I did a couple of co-stars and guest stars on some shows, right? So that was nice. And also, you know, you kind of work your way up in that hierarchy of co-star, guest star, reoccurring, you know, work your way up. And I definitely did that a little bit before Raven's Home came about, and I'm really glad too. Like, it taught me a lot about what it's like being on set, and so making sure that once Raven's Home came, I was ready.
Yeah.
And I was. And I think after that, you know, there was a couple of projects that I was involved in, Lisa Frankenstein being one of them.
That movie was great. You were so good in that.
So incredible. Thank you. And, you know, with Megan, it all just happened so fast, but I don't think any of us realized that it was going to blow up the way that it did. I had no clue. I literally, when I was auditioning for it, I thought it was for a video game, so. Was
that your first VO work?
No.
Okay.
I worked on, my first VO job was when I was 9. I did a Haribo Sour Gold Bear commercial for those little gummy bears.
Yeah.
That was my first job ever. That was back in Minnesota, actually.
Yeah.
And then I've been on a couple of shows. I did Infinity Train on Cartoon Network, Sophia the First, Vampirina.
Okay, so VO work. So I guess the first Megan, I knew it was going to be big because that movie looked bonkers.
Thank you.
So it was great. And I guess my question is, when you read something on script that you're not going to have to actually be physically in, how does your prep for that change? Do you focus more on the dialogue and how you're going to present the dialogue? Do you still, when you're working it out, are you still being physical in the way you're delivering it? How do you prep for that differently than like Raven's?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, primarily all my work before Megan was very comedy based in the voiceover world.
Yeah.
Like I did a show on Netflix called Treehouse Detectives, and that was like for little kiddos, right? And I start reading the lines for Megan, and she's cussing and she's doing all these things, and it's a new territory, and they specified that it was horror, but I thought it was for a video game, and so I think with voiceover, it's none different than on camera in the sense that you are being so physical to be able to get things across. But with horror, you even have to be even more physical because there's so much more going on, like more action, if that makes sense. And so in the prep work for it, it was no different for me than auditioning for an on-camera role, because I think voiceover sometimes gets dogged on as not being as difficult as on-camera acting, and I would disagree, because I think it's actually quite the same difficulty, or even more, because you're not having anybody to react to, and it's just you and the mic,
Yeah.
and that's hard. But I don't think my prep for either of them is much different, because I see them both at the same value.
Yeah, no, I think voice acting, especially if you're not in the room with the cast, if it's not a completely animated feature where the cast is with you, that looks way harder.
It is difficult, but it's also a really fun challenge. I think whenever I do projects, my goal is to always challenge myself and try something new that's challenging and fun and something that I haven't done before. I think that's what excites me the most about working on things, is like every show that I've done, whether it's the same genre or not, every set is different, every experience is different, every crew is different.
Yeah.
And that's so fun.
Yeah, that when I worked in TV in New York for Law and Audit for SVU, it was fun working with like a new guest star every day, a new location every day. It's just like a fun thing to change it up, and that's what I love about the industry. You're not like stuck in an office with the same people every single day.
No.
And you get to everything changes. The environment changes. Everything changes, and it keeps it fresh, which stops everything from being boring immediately. So with the first Megan, you had this one line that I'm sure you've said at this point a million times. The one line that everybody from the trailer, from the movie, it's insane, right? Like, how many times have you probably said it at this point?
A lot, a ton. It's my favorite line from the first film, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, it must have been forced on you 1,000 times to say it.
It has been, but it's one of my favorite lines because it was something that was just so playful that I would have never, it's 3 words, and I would have never expected people to love it as much as they do.
It was like just such a great line that came out of nowhere.
It did,
Okay,
didn't
so
it?
then I watched the trailer for Megan 2.0. I need to understand what your reaction was to reading that script.
It was, when I first read it, I was so happy because they did such a good job.
It's so different.
I think sequels always have a stigma behind them sometimes, in the sense of, is this going to beat the first one, or where is this going to go? But I really think that the way that they continued Megan's legacy was so well done. And I'm really, really excited for people to see it, because it's also, I think a lot of people noticed from the trailer, there's a lot of action. We have a new villain, and it almost shows like a new heroic side of Megan.
It is it looks like a completely different genre, it looks like a buddy comedy. It looks completely different. Like, it's going to be less horror, a lot more fun.
I mean, I think there's still a good amount of horror that they just didn't show in the trailer. But
fair enough.
I mean, they did pivot quite a bit to some really cool action scenes, as you could see in the trailer, and Megan's return is really fun, because you could see in the trailer as well, like there's multiple, she's like in a few different bodies.
It starts with a small robot, goes into Megan, then goes into Allison Williams' brain. She's all over the place.
And that was so fun.
Do you have any favorite quotes from this movie that, I mean, the trailer has a lot one-liners in it.
Obviously the hold on to your vaginas line was just
I was gonna say,
so out of pocket.
It came out of nowhere.
And I've been loving that they used Britney Spears.
That was fun.
That was so cool. And like we've had a lot of play on that of just like Megan saying her iconic lines. So we've just had so much fun with it. And I think that's what I've enjoyed so much about the second one is that they just took her sass and toned it up so many volumes.
And were you able to play around in the room? Like, are you able to mess around with some lines and kind of just bring some Jenna to it?
They're always open to me adding something like some improvisation or putting in my suggestions. But I feel like most of the time, my role comes in when it comes to the tone of Megan and how she's delivering the line of like, are we going super full energy Megan? Are we going sinister Megan?
Oh, that's fun.
She has many different layers, and I feel as though that's where I've gotten to play the most is in her tones. And I don't think people even recognized, but in the first film, her tone changed from the beginning to the end. Yeah. Because as AIs evolve, so does she.
Yeah.
Because she's an AI.
Was there a difference in approaching Megan now, having done the first movie, having met the cast?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I wanted to keep the beauty that she possessed in the first film, obviously bringing that back for the second, because there's a reason that people loved her. So I wanted to keep that and obviously, not change her too much. But I think Megan's just experienced a lot of character development and growth, and that I had a lot of fun with. That I could really play with for the second one. And different than, I don't know, I think we kept the sass, but now you're seeing like, it's hard to do without spoiling, but you're seeing a whole new side of her in this film that's maybe not so villainous, but still villainous. But it's a sense of power.
Okay, I think that's fair.
It's hard to say without like spoiling it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, listen, it's Megan. We've seen her before. We can't assume she's going to be a good girl for the entire film. Come on, it's Megan. We know the deal. But we're excited for the movie. Let's talk music now because you have your new album coming out. I'm really excited for that.
Thank you.
You have 3 singles out already.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did That Girl go? Where did that title come from?
So I'm in this point in my life right now where, I just turned 21 and everyone's like, you're an adult and that's weird. But I also think the term woman has been thrown around and that really like icks me out. I don't like being called a woman. Like, yeah.
Really?
I think that makes me feel so old and I'm not there yet. And so it makes me think like, where did that girl go? Like how am I already here, like as an adult? And because I feel so much like a child still.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has an inner child, but when you throw around the word woman and you're just like, I was like, I feel so old. I don't like it. Where did that girl go? Like, where's my younger childhood now? Like, it's gone. I'm an adult. And so that's what spurred the, I guess, inspiration behind the title of the track, or in just the record itself. But also the record has a lot of variety that I don't think I've shown before in my music. We have vulnerability, we have love songs. I had my first ever love song. I've never done that before. That was new. I was always Miss Rage and Mrs. Anti-Love in all my songs, but that changed, and that's a cool side to see. But I still have like the wit and fun that I had in my first EP. So it was just a lot of playing around, but it's really about me coming of age and also just going through my 20s and the different emotions that come with that. Because I think people, growing up, you go from a kid to an adult, and when you're a kid, you want to be an adult, and then when you're an adult, you want to be a kid.
No, it's true. And listen, you're on your path to owing property tax, and that's where you're gonna get real mad.
Yeah, I'm like,
You don't know anger until you get your first property tax bill. Then you're gonna really hate being an adult. No, that makes sense. I found it interesting. Like now that I know your musical background, just the family background and what you were raised on, it makes sense. But it was interesting to see that you went with the country genre, because there are songs like San Diego that doesn't feel country.
yeah, they have more of a pop element to it. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to my music, I mean, being born in Texas and also just being surrounded by country music so early on in my life, and my relative is Gene Autry, the country singing cowboy, and through all that, I think it's just what I was raised on, and so, you know, what you're surrounded by is what you're used to. And I just grew up loving country music. And I never had that phase. You know, I feel like so many people that grow up in the South have that phase where like, I don't like country. I never had that phase.
Yeah.
I've always loved it because I feel like country music tells the best stories.
Yeah, well, I never
feel like
understood
they do.
people who say, I hate blank music. It doesn't, but there's no, like, I used to be like that about EDM. I never understood it. And it was just, okay, that's just not what I'm into. But
Yeah, and I think everything's less genrealized now.
yeah.
You know, I think in the past it was always you're either country or you're not, or you're either a pop or you're not, or you're, you know, whatever genre that you chose. But I think now it's just about creating things that you like and that you're proud of. And that's what I did for this record, is just creating music with the people I love most, but also telling my stories and finding that balance between pop and country and what that means for me. Because I think for everybody, it kind of means something different. You know, you can have that super country sound or you can have that super pop sound. And I just kind of like to blend the two.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, what we were talking about before, it's just the music industry. A lot of it is they're trying to push you to do something like, we need to make the album this because this is where it's going to hit, or we need to start with this single, or we need to push this single.
Yeah, and you know, something that I'm very grateful for is my team has been always Team Jenna. They haven't really pushed me to, you know, I think some people get in the position where their teams are dominating their creative control, and my team has never done that, and I'm very grateful for that. And they just believed in me and my vision and what I want to say as an artist, and I think that's what creates the most authentic music and the most authentic artist. You know,
it's so important to have a good team around you.
It is.
You could get so caught up in the garbage if your team is surrounded by like just the money aspect and not like letting the artist do what the artist does.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're at this age and you have a song that's about your relationship and just the relationship in general, are you someone that can sit down with your partner and just say, hey, things are going to get like, this is going to get big. Like I have a movie and an album coming out on the same day. Can you sit down and have that conversation with your partner and just be like, things might get a little bit crazy. We have to kind of set down these parameters of like, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to be in meetings. I might not have as much time as I typically have. Are those conversations that you have, or is that something that it just comes with the territory? Everybody involved understands.
So yeah, I mean, with my boyfriend, him and I, you know, obviously when we first started talking and getting to know one another, I kind of expressed to him that dating me is a blessing and a curse. And he said, why a curse? And I said, well, because as a female that's really going after her career, I'm never going to be the person that is going to be there all the time. Like what I aspire for and what I've worked so hard for since I was young is to be on the road and to be filming in crazy places. And I kind of forewarned him. I was like, this is what I'm doing, and that's not wavering. And I just have to find someone that wants to be on the ride with me versus trying to get me off the ride, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But also that takes a very secure human. And my boyfriend is very secure, but he had also, he was in the football. He was very successful in football for a while, and so he understands the media very well, which is, I feel like, not something you can necessarily teach somebody. It's just something that you have to learn and go through. So I'm very grateful that he had that background, that he knows what that's like. But the beautiful thing about him is he's so secure in himself and he has his own life, and we how we operate is, we make time to see each other as much as we can, and we're always communicating, and he's just secure and he's supportive. And I think finding that in this industry is really hard, and it's really difficult. And it's not something that you can really prep anybody for. I think it's just something they have to go through. Yeah. And luckily he's already had that experience prior to me, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But even so, being tied with somebody in the industry, that's something that he's going to have to learn as well, and what that's like. And even having a song written about him, when I told him it was coming out, I played it for him, but it took me forever to play it for him because it's so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's scary to play something that comes from the heart like that, because I feel like when words fail, music speaks. And so for me, it was very nerve-wracking. It was my first love song, so it meant a whole deal to me. And it meant so much to him, but also he has no desire to be in the industry.
Yeah.
He just wants to support me through it. And I think that has been so amazing through it all. Cause I've seen people in the industry before and dated people in the industry before, and not that it's a bad thing, but I think I prefer when somebody's not in it, but they understand it.
There's a lot of egos involved with that, where there's a jealousy thing.
Yeah. And I think it's also difficult too, because this industry is so unpredictable, and to have two people that have unpredictable lives is really hard. It's nice for me because my boyfriend now is like that steady person for me other than my family, that's like stability and also normalcy in that sense.
And honesty. Like, he wants the best for you. Like, he's going to tell you. He's the guy you can go to. That's always fascinating to me, the releasing of the song stuff, because not to get adult on you, but it's kind of like when a couple has a kid, that thing's there forever. Like, you release the song, hopefully you're together forever, but if you're not, that song is there. Yeah, that song is there forever.
Yeah, and that's difficult for sure as an artist. But I guess for me, my thing is, you know what? I'm 21 years old. I'm writing songs about me and my life, and that's what's going on in my life right now, and I'm going to be authentic. And you know what? If we don't work out, and nobody ever knows what happens, I'm still going to have to be comfortable singing that song, and that's going to be hard, but that's the music industry. And I think that's the beauty of the music industry too, is because most of these songs are about moments in your life, and maybe it is the person that you marry, or maybe it's not. And there's no guarantee. But I guess I think in the past I lived so much in fear of like, oh my gosh, if I do this, what does this mean and whatnot. But instead of thinking of it like that, I'm just like so grateful. I'm like, wow, like I get to write my first love song because it came from the heart.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool. And whether or not this works out or not, I hope it does, but nothing's guaranteed. That's kind of how I feel like I've positioned my mindset. So in the end, that's probably a lot easier said than done. Obviously, like if you break up or whatever, that's probably a lot harder, but I'm trying not to think of it like that. I'm just taking every day by day, and just enjoying it,
But Christina Perri has the same situation. Like one of her biggest songs, Jar of Hearts, is about an ex, and like when she goes to Philly and her ex is at the show, she still has to sing that song.
Yeah, and he's right there.
He's right there. It's like, it's just part of the job.
Yeah, but it's funny though, because sometimes, like, this is quite funny, but I had a song called Miss Wannabe, and I didn't write that song. It was actually a 10-year-old song that I stumbled upon and I fell in love with, and my ex thought it was about him and his new girlfriend.
Oh no!
And I'm like, it's not.
I saw you post that video, and I thought that also, and I thought this was brave of her, because he's probably still following her.
I'm like, it's not about you. Don't get it twisted. But I think some people, they start to make. I think songs can be so assumption based, where it's like, no, this song I freaking fell in love with, and I've had so many people relate to it, and I've related to it in the past of, hey, this has happened to me, because it has, but it wasn't that specific ex. But not that I haven't had that many exes. I've only had one ex, but anyway, that's besides the point. I've talked to boys in the past, and they've done silly things, and I've written songs about them. But regardless, it's funny that songs can make so much assumptions,
Yeah.
Like, you can assume so much. And it's like, no, this song, I loved it. I fell in love with it. It was a 10-year-old song, and Carrie Underwood's writer wrote it, and I fell in love with it, and it just felt like mine. And that's why I released it, because I just loved it so much. And if I loved it so much, I think my audience would love it so much. But also, it was so relatable that people, that happens to people so much. But my ex took it really personally.
And he put it, but that's on him. He put it on himself to take it personally.
And
That's not your
the funny
fault.
thing. I was like, I didn't even write that, but like, it's just funny that people can take things so personally that they just make assumptions, that songs are so assumptions based.
Yeah, that's the benefit of being a good songwriter. Everybody can relate to it in some way.
Yeah, and like
you have to take the brunt of that.
Yeah, and the thing about me is I do write most of my songs. Yeah. So, most people, it does stem from true experiences. And even songs like On a Budget and Miss Wannabe, like On a Budget, I didn't write it, but it still happened to me because penny nickel dime, and that's why it was authentic, and that's why I released it. But only songs that I release that I don't write is because they're authentic. I don't release anything that's not authentic. I don't believe in that because I think music is authentic. But I think just most of the songs that you write, it's just funny what people even think about it. Even with my song FBI about how girls stalk guys on Instagram, that's one that I wrote, and some people just got so triggered by it because they think I was literally stalking the man. I'm not stalking the man. It's about stalking their Instagram and knowing what's up with them.
Yeah, I think songs that are open for interpretation end up being trouble for everybody. But
I think it can be, but I kind of like that trouble sometimes.
Yeah, it's fun.
But it's just so funny.
But that's being a good songwriter.
Exactly. It's like you like that question of people guessing what it's about,
And it's more fun when you don't tell them. So we're wrapping up here. Last question. I always ask this at the end of the episode. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
This is so funny, but as we're getting into the summer, I wish I tanned more easily.
Okay, I have the same problem.
It's just like a funny, it's very random. I guess it's very vain, but I wish I tanned more easily. I don't know. I think some of my friends, even my boyfriend has this like beautiful olive skin, and it's so annoying. I'm like, you guys just get the best tans ever, and I'm over here like a little ghost who loves a good self-tan.
Do you get red, or do you just stay pale?
I do get red, but my mom also has this skin condition called vitiligo, and that's permanent by the sun. And so I guess I'm always like scared of the sun because of that, because it's genetic and I don't want to get it. So I don't want to get vitiligo.
Fair enough.
So I think I'm like just also like anti-sun, but I haven't really tested it too much to really know. But I just know I don't tan easy, because sometimes when I go on vacations, like even when I'm out there, I don't really get that much color, and I'm like, I really wish I could. I really wish I tanned easy because it's just so nice. And
I think that's a good one.
Yeah,
I don't think that's vain. I think that's fair.
It's silly, but it's true.
I think if that's the one thing you want to change about yourself, you're a pretty decent person. I feel like there's so much worse things that you could be dealing with. I think that's okay. All right, how far did you get?
I don't think wow.
I mean, you're taking it home, so you can finish it whenever you want.
That is crazy. Yeah, I only got this far. I didn't do too well. I think I got too busy talking where I'm not really a multitasker. I'm very bad of like doing multiple things at once. I have to focus on one. So, this is decent for me.
You'll get there. You'll take it home. You'll finish it. Where can people find you?
Everywhere, just Jenna Davis. Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat. It's literally just my name. I try to make it easy.
That's very easy. Make sure you go see Megan 2.0 and check out her album on June 27th. Where Did That Girl Go? Thank you very much, Jenna.
Thank you.
You can follow me at St. Ain't Sosis. Follow Building Friendships series on Instagram, on TikTok, and we'll see you next time.
Amazing.